Football is over. We're back talking baseball. Up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Stick around. Happy Monday evening, everybody. Sorry, Jeff and I are a day late than normal posting the podcast, but we got all the info that we need. And luckily, it's not in season, so not a big deal. Switch from Sunday to Monday. I appreciate everybody sticking with us. A lot of funny comments online about us jumping back a day, but we do understand that everybody loves to hear the podcast, so we appreciate all the comments and everything. But I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always with Jeff Erickson on this podcast. We are sponsored by WynnBET. We appreciate their partnership all year long for the podcast. Jeff, how are you? Football's over. It's time to jump into baseball, kind of?
Kind of, although, hey, it seems like it's getting worse, not better, but so it goes. We'll see about that there, Scott, but getting my voice back, literally.
Did it get a little bit of vocalizing your feelings yesterday?
I did. For the 12 people that haven't heard, I was at the Super Bowl yesterday,
nice.
And was heartbreaking, but it was also a bucket list item. No regrets at all about going. I'm writing up an article about my experience doing it, but it was sensory overload. I mean, especially an assault on the eardrums. I don't know if you've been to SoFi, but it's like going to an NBA game. They just pound your ears. But SoFi, they've got 260 speakers for their audio system. They've got this massive video board. It's connected to that. I was up at the 500 level, so I was right even with that. I could look straight ahead, and there's the replays and all that instead of looking down. But
I went to a Cowboys game, and they had the same screen thing. Do you find yourself watching the screen more than the field a little too much?
No. I was pretty good about watching the
Cowboys game, and I just you just naturally, it's so huge and right in front of you. It's hard not to look up at that rather than kind of focusing on what's going on down below. You have to actually focus and think about watching the play live rather than watching the screen.
The cool thing about being up high is you see plays developing.
Yeah, I actually like that in football. I think in-person football up a little bit is really good. Hopefully you have not watched the last play and saw how that would have developed if Burrow had any time.
Too soon, man. I saw it last night when Jay Morrison posted it, and I was like, Yeah.
They, it's blocking Aaron Donald and Von Miller was always going to be the problem in that game. But
and
it was a hell of an effort.
It was a hell of an effort, despite that. You know what? And it's not like I don't want to get it too much down the rabbit hole. Let's just say I'm proud of the team. It's damn hard to get to the Super Bowl, let alone to win it. And I hope it's not Dan Marino where he never gets back. But man, this team, I'm excited about this team's future nonetheless.
Not only that, that month of January was just awesome for you guys. That's a fun run that everybody's like, oh, he lost it. But all those wins that you can't take those away. Those are so fun as a fan. So it was good.
Yep.
But let's jump into baseball. At the top, real quick, how do you feel about the situation with the season at the moment? Do you feel better or worse than last week? Are you unchanged of last week? Where are you kind of feeling with with all the CBA crap we're dealing with here?
I think I feel worse. And I didn't think I'd feel worse. I was like, okay, and it leaked that there's a negotiation session planned on Saturday before Manfred made his remarks on Thursday. I was like, okay, whatever crap he says on Thursday, at least they're going to be at the table. And then he said what he said on Thursday, which wasn't great.
No.
Wasn't awful, but there were some really stupid things in there, like better off investing in the stock market than owning a baseball team. So just stop. Stop talking already.
Did someone not read his speech beforehand and clear that? He must have a team of people dude, this is really stupid. There's no way he just writes that and goes out there, right?
No, he didn't. He didn't write that.
Yeah, it's how much of smart people let that go though?
No, but they're the ones writing it. The so-called smart people are the ones writing it. It's St. Louis's owner said that during COVID in 2020. He said, "Oh, it's not necessarily a great investment. Royals sell for $1 billion. Stop.
Right? Yeah,
come on. Don't insult us there. They are. And I know players. Maybe they could have brought the mediator to the table or whatever. They could at least cosmetically make it look better. But the mediator doesn't know shit. I mean, pardon my language, but." When that's happened in previous labor issues, the mediator has their own agenda. It's something that's also completely different. And then you see the details of the offer. And the latest thing that just came out just today from Jeff Passan, where they're trying to eliminate more minor league jobs too as part of the deal there. It's like, are they steering into the evilness there? Are they grew from Despicable Me? I mean,
It feels like it at times.
Reform grew, that is. It feels like it. It really does. And then you get, the people carrying their water saying like, oh, players need to come halfway. Halfway to what? Yeah. The Major League Baseball has come like a penny closer, if that. And anyway, so I don't even know what they want. Yeah, except for more of the same, or maybe to crush them a little bit. They don't even want more of the same. They want more, and they've been winning the last 10 years. So
I feel about the same as I did last week. I think that the key day to like the first week of March is kind of, I didn't think anything would ever really happen till that. When you get, I think there'll be that one push in the first week of March, like where you can still save the whole season, you can still start on time. And I think that, if you could start by March 7th, 8th, somewhere in there, I think you get a whole season, everything's fine. But I think that first week of March will be really big. My concern is if they get past that first week of March and that the opening day is off the table, then I kind of feel like the impetus to get stuff done kind of goes away again. And that's what scares me, because I think that there'll be a huge rush to get that done. If it doesn't get done there, then I think they kind of let it linger for way too long.
Right. And I haven't lost my impetus to get things done, but I can see a little glint in the tunnel though, too, of, out of my tunnel vision. Like, yeah, I can see that. Dynasty football, everybody, let's get into it. I mean, I'll play Dynasty football, but I'm going to really get into it if that's the case. I might even like do a trade with Brad Ziegler, the day he offers it, as opposed to like, not yet, Brad, I'm at the freaking Super Bowl. Don't send me an offer right now. But
Brad Ziegler, a very good trader. He gets stuff done. He's very persistent.
Yeah. He literally sent me a trade offer last night. I'm like,
awesome.
Not now, Brad.
Yeah.
Not now. But you're going to need a hot minute, but that's okay. I am still going to join another DC this week. But like Greg, we had Greg Ambrosius on our show today, and he was saying sign-up slowed down this week. It's kind of came to a screeching halt basically on Saturday.
He has to be beyond frustrated. I mean, this is livelihood in his business.
He's boiling over. Yeah, and it's my livelihood too. And, it really sucks. It's really awful. And yeah, there's still reason for hope. And I don't want to dissuade people from, preparing for baseball, because what's going to happen is we're going to have a compressed draft season, compressed spring training, compressed free agent signing. It's going to come. I've used the analogy before. It's like going to be a fire hose of information that's going to be coming at us. And
it will.
We, do your basic legwork now. Yeah. So that way, when everything else happens and playing time things get switched, you're ready. I mean, you're going to have to. That's why I think you're still. It behooves you to kind of throw yourself into it now, especially because everything else is off the table. Yeah, or you can become a soccer fan.
Well, luckily, I'm a big basketball fan, so I have that going on. I'm jumping in with both feet right now. Usually after the Super Bowl is when I do, but my theory is whenever I'm going to do, as I'm analyzing players, anytime the season starts, that analysis is still going to be credible. I'll have to, move playing time and obviously adjust guys. If you have a shorter season, I think that a few guys become, a few positions become more important. A few become a little bit less. I think that closers and waiting become less important because, if someone takes over the job 2 months in, you only have 2 months left. That's a bigger deal than if they take it over 2 months in, there's 4 months left. So I think there's some things to shift. I think the 60-game season, I kind of realize what I would shift when I need to. But I think the kind of the player talk, player analysis, we're going to do a bunch of that tonight. I think that's all still important. You have to put the work in at some point. And like you said, it's going to be a compressed prep time. So like you can't wait till we get a season date because you're just not going to have time at that point.
That's right. That's exactly right. So let's get into it. Let's get some of this done.
We're going to talk some last year's bums. Always a fun topic, guys. So, looking at their 2022 value, guys who struggled in 2021. And then for the second half, we're going to do some interesting players after pick 300. I always think it's a good exercise to looking, and not necessarily targets or fades, but guys who I think are interesting after 300. There are some guys in here that I really do want to take and have targeted, and I'll probably have to move them up after I talk about them. But, some guys that are interesting after 300, I think is very important as you're getting your drafts. You need to hit a couple of those guys in the kind of the back third of the draft. But let's talk about some last year's bums. Guys who struggled last year. My first one on the list, we talked about Christian Yelich last week, so I'm going to try not to repeat anything we talked about last week. But as Yelich came up, we kind of hit on Cody Bellinger a little bit, but I want to talk about him. ADP last year in the main event was 23.1, which is like kind of the middle of the second round. ADP right now is 100. That's a huge drop for a guy kind of in the, the prime of his career age-wise, but hit $165 last year. I think every time I look at that, I think I have it wrong when I type it, but that's always the same. It never changes. And he had 19 home runs, 350 plate appearances. K rate was up to a career high. Swing strike rate was up to a career high. Walk rate was down to a career low. Obviously, it was a huge struggle. I mean, the question with Bellinger is, was he ever healthy? Was the shoulder? Was there other
Right.
stuff going on? Hard hit rate and barrel rate, both at career lows. We're talking 34% hard hit rate. Like you're getting down to like, not quite Punch and Judy type of guys, but not far away. But ADP 100, we're talking middle of the 7th round. Are you willing to jump back in with a shot at, clearly a huge upside player?
Yeah, I have actually, especially because I'm looking for maybe some speed upside from someone that can still hit for power too.
Yeah.
At that point in the draft round, pick 100. It's he or Yelich are usually compared to each other every time, so I'll do it too. I prefer Bellinger over Yelich. It's weird, but last year I was big fading him coming off the shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
And the knowledge that he was trying to change his swing before 2020 even started too. Coming off an MVP season, he was switching his swing. Yeah. I belabored that point before, but I'll do it again. Still watch, but yet, and it's significance, little stuff, but seeing him homer in the playoffs, turning on a high fastball, that's the sort of swing he didn't have most of the year. And let's just read off all these injuries. It was the shoulder surgery, torn labrum in his shoulder, or a dislocated right shoulder. Even that. And then during the season, calf injury. Oh, wait, no, it's a broken fibula.
Weird play, too. They're playing the A's, so I was watching that game. He just kind of got stepped on. I was like, oh, that's like he got spiked a little bit. He might be out a day or two. And then all of a sudden, he was out forever. It was really strange.
Months.
Yeah.
Months. Then he also had the rib injury last year. I think he had a hamstring injury. Yeah, he had a hamstring injury late last season, too. All these things, like he was just never healthy. I got to think full off season of rehab and recovery is going to help. There was a thing going around with him and some other Dodger players taking batting practice together. I think someone even said like he said something like he's going to get high less often or something like that. I don't know. I mean, that might have been tongue in cheek. I probably shouldn't have even repeated that, but that would be a good thing too. I think there's I don't think you have to pay anywhere close to what it takes to get a big profit from him. And 7th round picks fail all the time. 8th round picks all fail all the time. So why not take a chance there?
It's funny you mentioned the home run, the high fastball, and like that was his issue last year. He hit 327 on fastballs in 2019. Hit a $150 on them last year. Like unbelievable that Cody Bellinger hit a $150 on fastballs. He slugged 661 on fastballs in 2019, 326 in 2021. I mean that screams injury to me. Like you got Cody Bellinger, you got bat speed. Like that screams something was wrong in the entire time.
Yep.
I just think a pick 100, like you said, 7th round picks fail all the time. There's just so little risk there for the huge. Yeah. I think he's someone that's going to move up a little bit as we get to the main event. I think he's going to be in the 80s and 90s if you really want to take him. I think there's a little bit of buzz. He's kind of the kind of guy that if we do have a little bit of spring training, he shows anything, he'll fly up a little bit even more than that. But
for sure,
I'm willing to do it. If I got to go 6th round, I'm willing to take Bellinger. And I just think that the downside is not as low as people think it is. I don't think he's hitting $165. I mean, the downside's probably 230. That's probably in play. That's what he hit in 2020. But I mean, this guy hit 305 in 2019. So there's like upside across the board.
Yeah, I think, and if he's broken, we'll know it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I will want to see the summer training reports from him to see if before we do the main.
That is savage right there. Summer training.
I know. Sorry. I want to see see that there, and I think if I see that, I'm going to, if I see him like ripping it, then I'm going to be I'm going to be go getting him. But then again, if he's ripping it, he's going back into the 3rd round.
Yeah. I don't know if I go quite that hard, but probably 4th round. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's going to go pretty early. I think he's one of those guys we'll be watching very carefully. We're going to be watching him. Obviously, Jacob deGrom is going to be the most watched player in spring training. I think Justin Verlander will be closely watched. I think Chris Sale and Shane Bieber will also be pretty closely watched too. I think those are the guys that I'll be watching a lot in spring. Any of those high profile players that were hurt last year will be all over.
Absolutely agreed there. Another guy who is about 80 picks off his 2021 ADP is DJ LeMahieu in New York. 35.7 was the main event ADP last year. He's about 117 this year. Just a weird power fall off. And I think as you look at this, maybe 2019 with those, whatever it was, the 23 home runs, 26 home runs, maybe we're talking big time happy fun ball guy in 2019, but he had 268 last year, 10 home runs, only 4 stolen bases. He had 84 runs, but 680 plate appearances. Like that's a pretty meh stat line when you get almost 700 plate appearances. I think the key to me was the average. I mean, he hit 324 or 327 in 2019, 364 in 2020, fell way off to 268. For a guy who I think we always kind of worried that the 2019 power wasn't real, not getting the batting average was huge. The barrel rates are really low. We're not going to get power out of him. I think that he can't be drafted for power. But how do you feel about him in terms of a batting average bounce back, hitting in a good lineup, scoring a bunch of runs, that kind of player at 117?
I'm shocked he didn't hit 364 again. No,
Right.
He was 100 points below that almost, which is wild. But wasn't he one of your fades last year?
He was. I didn't want to talk about that and talk myself up, but he was a fade.
No, well, that's why I'm here to talk you up, because you'll never talk yourself up.
I much appreciate he was. There were probably some guys on the fade list that were really good, but he was on the fade list last year.
The only fade victory lap you'll do is Victor Robles.
I'll do Andrew Benintendi too, because that was a phenomenal call.
Yeah, that was. But
as a second rounder or whatever he was that year.
Yeah, I think Happy Fun Ball was a big part of his life. Going the opposite way at Yankee Stadium was a big thing for him. Taking that away from him is probably it was probably something that really wrecked him. But he's a good hitter. He's not going to hit 268 again either. I think he's probably a 285 type of guy.
What's your home run projection on him?
I think I put him down for 18.
Okay.
What do you think?
Would you
take the under on that?
I think I'd take the under on that, but slightly. I think you get 14 to 16 is a pretty good number for him. So I don't think 18 is way off. I had to bet one side, I'd probably take the under, but I think
right.
I just think he barrels up so few balls that you have to hit every one you barrel up out. And I think 14 to 6, but he gets 600 plate appearances again. That's a ton of runs in that lineup too.
Right. And of course, we're presuming all projections presume 162 game schedule. I haven't changed that yet.
We'll prorate as needed, of course, but everybody be prorated, so it doesn't, it all comes.
But you know what? I might go a little lower on that. I mean, it was prior to joining the Yankees, his career high was 15 homers. So 18 is too high. I need to downgrade that just a little bit. 2019 is doing a lot of work there.
I just look at 2.9% barrel rate and 3.7% last 2 years. Those are really low numbers. You just hard hit a ton of home runs. You're not barreling up a ton of balls.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Someone in the chat wants to know what's the percentage that the Reds make the playoffs this year. That's definitely a you question.
Let's see if they give away more players. You should have caught Reds cast on Thursday when I had Jenny Butler and Doug Dennis and Clay Link on. I'm bummed out. I'm bummed out at what they do now. If they have expanded playoffs, and obviously the owners really, really want that helps their chances a smidge.
Yeah.
If we get some sort of crazy schedule where it's so central division loaded again like that would help their cause too. Even then, though, I would say 30%, 35%. It's pretty low. I mean, they're one of three. I'm going to repeat the stat that I said last week, Scott. One of three teams that haven't signed a major league player this offseason. Another one being our A's, and then everybody's Pirates because they're going to receivership. No, it's not the Pirates. It's the Guardians. I'm sorry. The Pirates actually have been more active. They've acquired a major leaguer this offseason. I
would definitely take the under that percent on the A's make the playoffs. So it makes you feel better about that.
Yeah, we're both pretty grouchy right now. Pretty salty.
It's rough. So you gave me props on a fade. I'm going to give you props on a fade. You were all over the fade list for Blake Snell last year. His ADP was 35 in the main event. You were no part of that. You had him way lower than that. His ADP right now is 108. He had a 4.20 ERA and 128 2/3 last year. But someone that stepped up in the second half. He was really bad in the first half, 3.24 ERA in the second half. K rate still 31%. He had a ton of issues with walks last year, 12.9% walk rate. However, if you want to squint and see a little better, 10.8 in the second half. Still not a good number, but better. Barrel rate was a career high. Hard hit rate was a career high. So, walking guys and getting a power contact is a really bad combo. But second half strikeout rate was 33%. He still can punch guys out. Yeah,
and he bagged his changeup. And that might have been the thing. Now, over the course of a full season, are hitters going to adjust to that and punish him accordingly? Probably a little bit there. Whip's always the issue. Whip and endurance are the two big issues with Snell.
Yeah.
He had even with that last 8 start tear where he had a 0.77 whip, still ended up at 132 on the season. So think about that. It's all baked in. Yet I'm sneakily in. I think this is, he didn't want to be traded away from the Rays. I think he's an emotional guy. I think he had a hard time adjusting to that. I think he had a hard time. He thought finally I'm getting away from the Rays quick hook. And then Jace Taylor said, wait, he get a hold of me. I think yeah, you didn't say in that sort of tone of voice. That would be weird.
Right.
But it was definitely a case there where I think he had a super quick hook, and I think that cost the Padres a lot. That not just with the starters, but I think the overuse of their key bullpen guys. I think they wore down big time down the second half of the season.
And you mentioned the quick hook. I know it's only 3 starts and it doesn't really mean that much, but I love the fact that he threw 7+ innings his last 3 starts. They finally let him go. And, he was really good. Those 3 starts, he had 11, 10, and 10 strikeouts in those starts. Like maybe I think you hope at some point in Tingler's head, maybe he realized that he can leave him in there for 6, leave him in there for 7. Doesn't have to yank him. I mean, he had 1 start over 6 innings the first, until August, essentially. He had a couple 6s, but nothing over 6 until August 8th. And then he had 4 7+ after that. So I think they clearly made a change. He was pitching better. They trusted him more. Not giving up 7 runs to start helps staying in the game longer too. That there's no doubt there. I'm kind of sneakily in at 108 too. I think it's as you get into those rounds, it's hard to find high strikeout guys, and he's definitely one that fits that bill.
How's Melvin's hook? How quickly is he going to pull him?
Not nearly as fast as Tingler or Cash. Probably not, not Dusty Baker in the Cubs days, but enough that he trusts his guys. I think he'll get some 6 and 7 inning starts.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, and while we're on Melvin here, let's talk a little bit about the bullpen situation there. He'll change his closers pretty quickly. And that was a problem with San Diego. We don't have a clear closer in San Diego. If you were rolling the dice right now, who would you bet be the Padres closer?
Craig Kimbrell.
Anybody. So if they don't make a trade, members currently on the roster, people that have been in the Padres kitchen so far, who would you choose?
Gun to my head, I go Emilio Pagan. Melvin has some history with him. Seem to trust him in Oakland. That's probably who I'd go with. But I don't want to do it. You make me pick somebody.
I know. It's gun to the head. I'm sorry.
I think they signed somebody or trained for somebody.
Yeah. Am I going to overdraft Emilio Pagan for the 3rd year in a row?
I know I did too. I was sure he was closing over Melanson last year. So we talk about good stuff I said in the fade list. Like Pagan over Melanson was a horrible call. So
I did Pagan and Pomerantz in the main. Did not do Melanson there. Oh,
hey, you had 67% chance to get the closer.
Yeah, and I failed badly.
Yeah, you look at that bullpen. You're right. For a team that wants to contend, has a really good offense, has obviously a ton of good pitchers. They got, if Clevenger is back and healthy, and then they have 4 really good starters, a really good offense. You can't imagine they go into the bullpen. They go into the season with Pierce Johnson and Emilio Pagan, and I guess they go to Nelson
Suarez, Roberto Suarez.
That's my guy. Austin Adams, maybe. I guess he used to throw hard in Seattle. I remember he was kind of one of those guys that everybody was drafting in Seattle a couple years ago. Like he was going to be the next guy, but they got to sign somebody, right?
And then he did some fine paintings in his downtime too. When
look at the culture reference. Right
there. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Not really. It's like A.A. Adams. Okay, I'll go with that there. But
here's a guy I can't figure out. I'm curious your feeling on Gleyber Torres.
No.
Main event 58 was his ADP last year, 140 this year. So we're talking another guy who's fallen. What is that? 83 spots. 259 last year, 9 home runs, 51 RBIs. He did steal 14. He had 12 in his career before that. So that was a nice little boost and helped out people who drafted him. Not enough for the draft price, but at least it helped a little bit. It's weird. You look at, he has 12 home runs his last 169 games. You take 2020 and 2021, 12 home runs total in Yankee Stadium in that lineup, coming off the huge 2019, another guy where maybe Happy Fun Ball was a huge thing. It's weird. You look at him, his hard hit rate's never been over 38%. I was surprised by that. I figured a couple of big power years there would have had some good hard contact numbers. Barrel rate in 2021 was 7.8. K rate's okay at 20%, not a problem really. Fly ball rate's down to 36%. Average exit velocity last year was 15th percentile in the majors. I kind of try to find a way. I usually when I jump into guys like this, I'm like, I'm going to see a way to. The first 3 guys we talked about, I'm kind of interested at the new price. I had a hard time talking myself into Gleyber.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I have a bet with Liz already. Dansby Swanson versus Gleyber Torres. Just most fantasy value.
All right.
Assuming a full season. And if it's close, if it's like 17-16 or something like that, it's a wash. But it's got to be a clear and convincing winner. I'm on Team Dansby.
If Liz is not in the show anymore, do you have to send someone to Portugal to find the money? How does that work?
The internet works there still.
Right.
But I think here's the thing. I mean, it's 2 years now.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a health thing that stopped him from hitting for power. His happy hunting zone has been changed. Camden Yards is now
Yeah.
a really tough place to hit homers as a righty.
Yep.
Give me a reason to be optimistic, and I haven't seen it yet. All the stuff you cited, like the exit velocity, the pull percentage is down, the ground ball rate's up, hard hit percentage is career low. I know that all tells you what he did before. It doesn't tell you why he did that. Yeah. And he hit for power in his rookie year in 2018. So it's not just Happy Fun Ball, but still Happy Fun Ball is doing a lot of the work of that projection. Again, your common thread, 2019 career high in homers. Why isn't he hitting for power anymore?
Yep. And it's wild. You look at home run for fly ball. It was 21% in 2019, 7% last year, 7% in 2020. Man, it's just, I think I'd take Swanson too. I kind of like Dansby Swanson. I think I'd take your side of that one.
Yeah. Dansby Swanson. And I think I made the point last week, but God bless it. I'm going to do it again. He hit for power. He scored a bunch of runs. He knocked in runs. He ran and stole 9 bases. His ADP went down. It's like 20 spots lower than it was last year. I guess is because he's a volume player. There's a lot of good shortstops, but give me Dansby at that price every time.
I certainly would have lost the bet if I thought Dansby Swanson's ADP went up or down. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like 115 to 120 now, and yeah, I'll pay that. And it's actually comforting knowing that that's a pivot for me if I miss out on some of these top shortstops, because the thing is, we want to get other quantities. We want to go out and get that closer. Want to get that third starter. Well, okay, I can still get Dansby.
Before we get a few other players, I'm going to punt a question to you here. You probably know more prospects than I do. If Kevin Kiermaier, Manny Margot gets traded, or Austin Meadows, what happens to Josh Lowe's value in an AL only auction? I assume it skyrockets, but
is there any other answer? I mean, Josh,
he is Josh Lowe, right? Not Josh Lau.
Correct. It's Lowe.
Okay.
It's related to Nate Lowe, right. Not to Brandon Lowe.
You mean Nathaniel Lowe?
Yeah, fine. Nathaniel. Yes. People should be called what they want to be called. That is a good point. Josh Lowe is a better prospect than Vidal Brujan. And Brujan's his pathways to the outfield too. And I think Lowe is way more ready. And I think he's a better defensive player in the outfield. I think he's a better hitter. I think he's a very fun prospect. Pathway to playing time is the interesting part. Plus he's going to go
22-26 last year. Wow.
Yeah. And I think he's going later than Brujan, and he should go before.
There you go. Well answered. Let's get a couple more last year's bones before we get to guys after 300. But first, a note for our sponsors at WynnBET. WynnBET is now the exclusive sponsor for RotoWire's fantasy podcast. WynnBET brings you all the latest action with a user-friendly interface, moneyline bets, boosted parlays, over-unders, round robins, live betting, and so much more, all at your fingertips. Want to break from sports betting? Head into WynnBET's digital casino, take a spin on roulette, double down on blackjack, slam the slots, or try your hand at Baccarat. WynnBET is currently available in 9 states. The number keeps going up. Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia, all while rapidly expanding. At WynnBET, the possibilities are limitless. Register for WynnBET today. Make a qualifying deposit wager to receive $200 in free bets. Promotion may vary by state. Download WynnBET now. That's WYNNBET. WynnBET, the exclusive partner for RotoWire's fantasy podcasts. So we've got a couple more last year's bones before we get into some deeper guys. A Reds guy here for you, Eugenio Suarez. We talked about drops in ADP. His drop in ADP is 150 slots from last year to this year, which is pretty wild when you consider it was just a year ago. His main event ADP was 62 last year, 210 this year. But he hit 190 and 198 last year. Did have 31 home runs and 79 RBIs. He hit 202 in 2020. So I think people are just now officially full on worried about the batting average. You get back-to-back years where you hit 200. Did hit 271 in 2019, 283 in 2018. What do you feel about Suarez? You're the Reds fan. I'm going to let you kind of go here. What do you feel about the new price?
I wrote an article last week about 3 players I changed and 3 players I added. One of them was Suarez, that I downgraded him. Because I battle tested my projections, and where I had him like around 170, 180, he was the top remaining guy in my queue for rounds, and I didn't want to take him. I don't want you to take him there. I don't want, at least not there. I don't care that he's eligible at shortstop. I mean, I guess it helps in that, but I think the batting average decline is real. Maybe a full year at playing third base again helps. I think moving him to shortstop probably didn't help him. But I think it's more than that. I just think his bat's slower. And I think he was guessing a lot to try to make up for that. He'll run into plenty. He'll get you power. but I think it's going to crush your batting average. There's no speed to speak of. He was platooning at the end of the year with Moustakas. Now that we have the universal DH, that might be less of an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty negative right now. So if he needs to get a haircut like to the 260s or so before I start to take him.
And it's interesting because everything I looked at kind of plays into what you're saying about guessing a lot. I mean, the barrel rate went up, but the strikeouts are up, the hard hits down, the walks are down. It feels like you're right, he's guessing, and when he gets it, he gets it. But when he doesn't, it's really, really ugly. It was kind of like how I felt Matt Chapman was the second half of last year. It was like he was frustrated, struggling, pressing, and every once in a while he'd run into one, but you kind of felt like he was just guessing to try and run into one more than anything else.
Yeah, that's right. Now, between those two, who are you taking, Chapman or Suarez?
I think I'd still take Chapman, but I might just be biased. I just think that I think the hip injury is the one thing that makes me think that maybe Chapman, there was something wrong there, and he kind of turned that around. Where Suarez doesn't kind of have that excuse for me to kind of figure out a reason he's been so bad.
Yeah, and you are paying around earlier price on Chapman, at least cumulative ADP. I didn't search by dates, but I had Josh Donaldson, former fave of yours. Add him to this mix. Which of the three are you taking?
I'd take Donaldson. I wouldn't even have to think about it.
Okay, there you go.
I
actually agree with you.
As long as Cruz doesn't end up back in Minnesota or someone like that, I'd like to get Donaldson, 30, 40 games at DH to get him off his feet a little bit. I think that would really help because, I mean, the hitting tools are still, at 53% hard hit rate last year, 17.5% barrel. The guy can square stuff up. It's just a matter of him staying on the field. And if he get DH, I don't know, once or twice a week, I think that'd be a huge boost for him.
Agreed.
It's funny you say that about guessing on pitches. That's what I did my sophomore year in high school. It was a terrible year. I just went up there literally. I was so frustrated at the point. I just guessed on everything.
Was that after your first shoulder injury?
No. My shoulder injury was an adult, but I was 8 for 50 my sophomore year in high school. It was not good.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's 160 if you want to do the math real quick in your head.
It was pretty good. I don't know if I could have done that.
Hasn't stuck with me at all. Just so we're clear, it led the league in batting my senior year, so it did turn around at some point. So
it gets better.
It got there. It does get better. A guy that you and I think both kind of liked last year is Cavan Biggio, and it was brutal. He was ADP was about 70 last year. Don't think I ended up with him in any of my big drafts, but I did find him intriguing. I found the lineup intriguing, the patience, a little bit of speed and power. He looked good in 2019 when he came up. ADP right now is 288. That'll tell you how last year went. Hit 224, 7 home runs, 27 RBIs, and 294 plate appearances. K rate was way up. Walk rate was still good at 12.5%, but a little bit down. Just clear that hard contact is a big thing for him. He does not hit the ball hard. 30% last year, 31% last year, 30% in 2020. I wonder if he even starts the year in the majors. Like, they have a lot of weapons. I wonder if they give him, I've talked to Rob Silver, who's a big Toronto Blue Jays fan. He thinks that he might start in the minors also. So I'm, kind of taking that from him. But there's a chance he might start in AAA, and that's obviously really bad no matter where you pick him.
And the Jays might not be done adding players. Since they lost Semien, they might go out and get another infielder. The Knights who say nay were correct on Biggio. And, towards the end of draft season, I kind of, lowered him a little bit, but clearly not enough. The fact that he was 20 for 20 in stolen bases at the major league level probably did a little bit of work for us there, but he only attempted 4 last year. Guess you kind of have to get on base a little bit more. Guess you have to be in the right part of the lineup more, because by the end he's batting at the bottom of the order. Santiago Espinal was getting more playing time than him, even after he came back from an injury. Yeah, there's not much to advocate in favor of him. All the overlays and discussions of said overlays were correct. 16 homers in 2019. Again, happy fun ball, doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I think I'm just kind of blonde him. If he fell, down to the 300 somewhere, maybe I take a shot if it looks like they don't sign anybody. But I think he'd have to slip for me to get interested.
Yeah, I think if you're in a draft and hold and you get him in the reserve rounds, great. You're not even getting position eligibility anymore. I mean, that's the other thing. You're not getting a whole lot of help there either. Used to be you could get him at 3 spots, and now you don't get that. He's only third base eligible now. So in leagues where you use 20 games as your standard.
Last guy I wanted to ask you about in here is Michael Conforto. ADP last year was 80. This year it's 194.5. Obviously, a rough year last year. Hit 232, 14 home runs, and 480 plate appearances. I was surprised. His hard hit rate's under 40% the last 4 years. I thought he was more of a hard contact guy. He did drop the K rate a little bit to 22%, so he's fine there. Walk rate up a little bit. Barrel dropped a little bit. I kind of thought I would like him a little bit more too as a deeper dive, and I came out feeling a little blow on him at the price. Kind of that price seemed fine, but not something I was going to be aggressively targeting.
Yeah, it seems like 2020 was this big career year, and we were expecting that to be closer to the standard, and it really wasn't. That said, he's a free agent. That might have been weighing on him too. Big contract year. Not everybody responds well to a contract year.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's possible that he lands in the right spot. I think being in New York probably did not help him when things went south. When the milk got bad, the crowd turned on him and all the other Mets. Terrible place to hit. Hits 705 OPS at home last year. Put him in the right ballpark. Good things could happen. Some team could probably take a good discounted chance. He'd fit well in Cincy. I'll tell you that. I'd love to see the Reds take a chance on him. They have the playing time available too after losing Castellanos. I think that might be a good landing spot for him. I don't know if they'll even do that because he's a major leaguer, and God forbid they actually sign one of those. So, but somewhere, if he lands in the right spot, it could be a nice little bounce back. It could be like what happened to Benintendi. He got figured out. It could be that's what happened to Conforto too. That's a worry.
And Conforto's not full only happy fun ball too. I mean, he hit 27. He was really good in 2017. He had 27 runs, hit 280. Hard hit and barrel were career highs. Like I thought he was good. After 2017, I thought he was going to be so good. Hit 28 in 2018, but the average is down kind of similar in 2019. But yeah, I don't know. 194 is probably about right. If he's signed in the right spot, I might be willing to do that. I'd like to see the A's sign him. I would take that. I'd take that on the team too. But again, like you said, has to involve signing a major leaguer. But
one more thing, there is some hope. From August 1st on, it was 829 OPS. It wasn't the 2020 form, but it's kind of one of those grinders. Guys that Jason. These are the Jason Gray All Stars when he did Tout Wars and Labor. The guys that weren't superstars, you pay $15 for them in an auction. They get you tons of playing time and get the counting stats. Conforto strikes me as a guy in that mold. Now, Nick Markakis was the canonical example of that type of guy. Orioles version of Markakis.
Yeah.
But eventually Markakis even went a little bit bad, and it took him a long while to bounce back. So had a couple of years with the Braves, but it took him a while. Same could happen to Conforto. 28 years old. Could be someone that still is useful, though. I think you're right. I think that's about the right price for him, and I'd take him at cost.
Do you think we kind of get a 1-year prove-it deal with him? What kind of deal do you think he ends up signing?
I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's so hard to answer that, not knowing what the CPA is going to look like. But I wonder if he'd be willing to jump in a 1-year deal for a nice paycheck and kind of prove himself, and then maybe sign after that.
Sure, I can see that.
So let's talk about some guys in later in the draft. Let's talk about some guys. I said past pick 300. I can talk. First couple of guys are right around there, they're a little bit earlier, but I did want to talk about them. The first is Alex Baum. Boom.
I think it's Alex Baum. I think it's Baum. I'm going Baum as in louder than a bomb, or but some Philly guy can correct us.
Please,
after the fact.
Please do if you can. 2021 was a year everybody was fired up about Baum. He hit 247, 7 home runs, 4 stolen bases. The K rate went way up, 26.5%. But somebody you look at the minor leagues, and that wasn't really an issue for him. So you always wonder that first couple trips around the majors, the strikeout rate always jumps up. And most guys, not everybody, but a lot of guys that kind of get back down to the way they were in the minors. And that first trip up is really tough. Hard contact is really impressive, 49.5%. That jumps off the page. Down here, you don't get a lot of guys that hit the ball that hard down here. Barrel is only 6.6%, so not barreling up a ton, but a lot of hard contact. Fly balls were an issue, 22.7% last year. If you're going to, a lot of hard contact, not many fly balls, you get a lot of ground balls, which, we don't really want for fancy wise. He was high 30s in the minors. So again, maybe he figures that out plus the strikeouts. 2019 in AA, he had 14 home runs in 63 games. So he's shown some power. He was a big name prospect, a pretty hyped up guy. Now he's going in, the 20th round. Where are you on Baum?
Don't have a strong feeling here. Didn't have him at all last year. I think I played in leagues against Gray from Rasball, who was big on him. That was the one thing Gray missed. Gray's really a good player, but he was wrong on him. But but or people that had, all it takes is one person to use their service, and that was their guy. So whatever reason, and I don't mean, Rasball does great work. Please don't let me say that this is a criticism of them or anything like that. But I just didn't get them. And I still don't know. It was, it's contact over power, and I like getting power from third base. If he's not making more contact, then batting average is going to suffer, and you're not going to get the power payoff. And you're not getting stolen bases as much too, because you're not on base as much. So all these things kind of kick in there. And even if you're just walking, then you're just advancing the runner in front of you by 90 feet as opposed to moving him to third. So leaving that base open in front of you, little things like that. He wasn't much of a runner anyhow, so that's really not the big of a deal there. But I think he could, if I'm needing third base, I've been trying not to need third base, but if I am needing third base, I could see myself taking a flyer on him because I do see an upside. I just don't, I'm not going to, he's not like a priority of mine, but it's like, okay, I'll take him if he's the guy that falls.
Yeah, I think I think I'm in at the new price. I think, prospect pedigree, hard hit rate. There's enough here. If I kind of squint, I like the strikeout rates in the minors. I think in the 19th, 20th round be someone that I'm willing to take a shot on. And I think we'll know pretty quick if he has figured it out. I don't think you're going to need more than a month to figure out if you can drop or not. And I think that's
right.
I think he's one that could pay off and work out pretty nicely for very little kind of priced in risk.
For sure. Give me him over Biggio every time.
Me too.
I take him ahead of Gio Urshela, who's going picked higher. Although I wouldn't take him at Urshela's price, but if they two, I'm going to take him compared to price. I would take Arias probably ahead of him because ahead of Baum, in part because Arias has second, third, and outfield eligibility.
It is nice.
And I know what I'm getting with him. I know I'm not getting like power or speed that much. It's weird to think that Arias doesn't provide speed, but he doesn't. Josh Jung is the interesting guy in that comparison, but it's also the embracement of the unknown. He could be awesome. He's not settled. There's a lot of these guys in the 20 plus range among third base. Like don't want.
Arias is so tough for me because he fits. If you have the perfect spot for him where you need batting average, everything else, he fits really well. But 2 home runs and 2 steals last year is really tough to stomach. He only scored 58 runs, 42 RBIs. He's just not contributing. The runs would work if he hits in the right part of the lineup, and it depends how the Twins work that out. But again, you get 294 for 480 plate appearances. That really helps if you need that. So I think he feels to me like a pure team construct guy, but can work in the right spot.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. And if I'm looking for power in my team construct, I'm going Patrick Wisdom in that area. And
he's coming up next.
Okay. So I preempted you there. So it was like pulling teeth trying to get me to talk about him.
No, that was good. Let's jump down and talk about Patrick. We're talking about third baseman.
Sure.
He's picked 330. Obviously, I guess a breakout guy last year with the power. 28 home runs, 61 RBIs, and only 375 plate appearances. Did hit 231. He's someone that you look at it like the K rate is massive, but the hard hit rate is massive also. I mean, he's 51%, 16% barrel rate, but 41% K rate. Like that is among the elite of the strikeout guys, if you want to call it elite. Walk rate is only 8.5%, so not one of those guys that walks a ton. Just kind of okay there. 49% fly ball rate. So as long as he keeps up the hard contact, he's going to hit home runs, going to hit a lot of fly balls. Probably not going to help his batting average with the strikeouts and the fly balls though. But you look, the power is not out of nowhere. He hit 31 home runs in 396 plate appearances in AAA in 2019. 92nd percentile hard hit rate, 92nd percentile max exit velo. He just I think he just is the definition of kind of is what he is. And like you said, you need power. I think he makes a lot of sense in the team construct like that.
Yeah. He could hit 185. That's entirely possible. Or, he could do what he did last year. I mean, 28 homers last year. People don't realize, that's 28 homers. There's a class of players of which Wisdom is one of that they get their shot in the big leagues late in their career life. They're not they could burn bright for a couple of years, but then they usually burn out quickly. I mean, Jose Bautista is the rare exception, not the norm. Usually you get a couple solid years out of him. Sometimes you get Whit Merrifield, who got a late start too, but he's also a completely different type of player. Usually you get these power guys at a corner spot, and they're usually holding the position, keeping it warm for somebody. But Anthony Rizzo is not walking through that door replacing the Brian LaHare here. This is the Cubs have nothing behind him. Not that I'm saying having nothing behind a guy is a reason to get him.
Right.
But I'm saying, though, I think there's a good chance that they'll stick with him, and give him a pretty close to a full year. Frank Schwindel, too.
Same kind of late in career guy, too, right?
Yeah. I'm all aboard Frank Schwindel for the price, by the way. Really aboard that one.
As of right now, both those guys hit in the top 5 or 6 of the lineup, right?
Right.
The bottom half of that lineup is not great.
And I think Schwindel can actually kind of hit, too, not just hit for power. I actually think he can actually hit. So I like waiting on first base as opposed to third base. I think there's lots of guys I like at first base and waiting wise, but Wisdom is a late power guy, and that can be useful.
Yeah, I mean, as in a 15 teamer, especially, you're going to have spots, you're going to have positions or categories that you need late. It's just the way it works out. You can't get everything, and you want to get your close, you want to get starters. You're not going to get everything. So you have to know, as you get deeper in the draft, you need average. Maybe it's a rise. You need power. It's wisdom. If you need a combo of those, maybe it's you take a shot at Alec Baum. But it's just you got to know what you need and where you can find it. I think that's
for sure.
We always talk about pockets of value. People get tired of me talking about that, but I think it's really important both from a positional aspect and a category aspect.
Yeah, I never get tired of you talking about pockets of value.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Before we get to a few of the guys after 300, a note from our sponsors at Thrive. Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy's exciting player prop fantasy contest. With Thrive Fantasy, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Sign up for Thrive Fantasy today and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. Here's how to claim your free RotoWire subscription. Number 1, visit rotowire.com/thrive. Number 2, deposit a minimum of $10 and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And third, play in your first paid contest and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. So, Jeff, I'm going to cheat. Very easy. I'm going to cheat a little bit with the post 300 with one pitcher here. Tyler McGill in New York. ADP is 293. 4.5 ERA last year in 89.2 innings. But you look a little deeper at some of the metrics. He's 3.84 on the xERA, 3.92 on the xFIP. The interesting thing with me about McGill here, and our friend Matt Modica will be excited because he calls him the baby goat coming after Jacob deGrom, who's the adult goat. But K rate is 26.1%. Walk rate was pretty good at 7%. It's just hard to get guys who strike people out at this point in the draft. And he's a guy that does strike some people out. 26% is pretty solid. Hasn't pitched a lot. He threw 70 innings in 2019. There's obviously the blank in 2020 because he was in the minors. Who knows what he threw? I'm assuming he was something at the alt site. We don't have stats on that. Then 130 in 2021. The barrel rate's a little concerning. Gets a lot of hard contact. That's 10% there. But you look a little deeper. Changeup and slider, he uses those both around 20% of the time. Both had whiff rates over 31%. He throws 95. I think there's a little bit here. If you at this point in the draft, you need some strikeouts. I think he's an interesting guy that you can't find strikeouts down here very easily.
I'm learning about him from you and Modica and other smart people because I don't know a whole lot about him. One of the things that's interesting, and you got to help me out on this one here. Minor league spring training. Is he was optioned in October, so he's not on the major league roster right now, but he is on the 40-man. Does that mean he can report to spring training, or is it just non-40-man roster guys?
It's non-40-man roster guys report to spring training. Yes.
So much for that angle. Screw that. Never mind.
Well, that's good. I actually had an answer for your question, though. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And thank you for that.
And right now you got DeGrom, Scherzer, Taijuan Walker, Carrasco, like who knows with those guys. And then McGill, I think his spot is pretty good.
Yeah, I was trying to look at that. I mean, our depth chart, and trying to figure it out. I mean, DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, Carrasco, Lucchesi, Trevor Williams. I guess those aren't guys. David Peterson,
Jordan Yamamoto, David Peterson.
Peterson could be terrible for them again.
He could. It's a good point. And he could. Yeah. They got Sean Reed Foley somewhere in there too, who used to be terrible at I think it was the Toronto or the Mariners or one.
Yeah, of the two. I mean, McGill could be their third starter, or he could be their fifth starter.
Yeah, but I think
not a starter at all.
He feels like one of the five when you look at that. I mean, obviously we don't know who they're going to sign, but he feels like one of the five right now, which is part of the battle for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's him versus Trevor Williams is the way I'm reading that. Yeah, I probably should bump up his projection a little bit now that I'm looking at this a little closer. I just don't know. Yeah. And let alone whether the Mets do anything else.
That's certainly possible. They obviously spent some money, but as I get down here, I was looking at stars as we were talking about this, and I find it hard to find guys who can strike guys out, and I think he's one of the few that can. You're pitching in the NL East is not a bad spot, although I guess we have no pitchers hitting anymore, so that hurts a little bit.
I was just going to say, that as great anymore? I mean,
it's not. You're right. As I said that, I thought about it. You're right. It's not as good, but I don't know. Give me a 26% strikeout rate down here on a decent team. I don't know how their defense should be pretty good, right? Lindor, and as long as they keep Robinson Cano at DH, right?
Yeah, Jeff McNeil in the outfield should be fine.
Please no Jeff McNeil in the outfield. They get that for a National League team. They sure have a lot of DH candidates, don't they?
Yeah,
Cano, Dom Smith, and JD Davis should all be DHing, right?
Yeah, I mean, and they already have Alonso at first, so that's not even an option either. So, yeah, you're right.
That's kind of a weird roster for a National League team. It's pretty odd. So,
yeah.
Another pitcher down here, about 20 picks later, pick 314 is someone that we talked about a bunch last year, and it didn't really work. He just couldn't stay healthy. Is Tony Gonsolin, but 3.23 ERA, only 55 innings. Dude's career ERA is 2.85 in 142 innings. He's never topped 55 innings in the majors, though. So the injuries have always been an issue. Did throw 127 innings in the minors back in 2018. Another guy, though, K rate was 27%. The walk rate was a huge issue. The walks were not a big issue in 2020 in the majors or in the minors, but it was really bad last year at 14%. Right now, he lines up to be one of the starters. The Dodgers, I assume, are a team that aren't done, whether it be signing somebody or maybe making a trade. I won't bring up Luis Castillo getting traded because I'm sure you don't want to talk about that. But I got to think the Dodgers will make some move, maybe a Frankie Montas kind of thing. Like, I think they could kind of pillage either of our teams. I think they want one more starter. I don't think it's going to be Kershaw. But, you look a little deeper at Gonsolin. You look at his slider and his split finger, both over 40% whiff rates. Like the two pitches that really get swings and misses is a key thing you love to see for a starter. Batting average against a slider was 118. Against a splitter was 106. Like not only get swings and misses, but no, guys are not hitting the ball. It's all health for Gonsolin. I don't know if he can stay healthy as a starter.
Yeah, I think I've got him projected for like 80 innings. I don't know.
Yeah, if he throws 80 innings, he's pretty much worthless.
He lost the velocity on his fastball, but he is dealt with a bad shoulder. Well, guess what? Bad shoulders don't go away sometimes too. Yeah, really difficult time trying to peg him.
Yes.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean the price is finally commensurate with perhaps the upside risk.
Yeah, he was buzzy and pushed up last year when we got to March draft. People really liked him last year. Was that you?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah. One of my mains, I picked him over many others. Reached a little bit there, and that was fun. And then I dropped him, and then someone else picked him up, and at least fortunately, no one else really burned me too bad on that. But yeah, I mean,
and I ended up using him a couple times. He would always be 3 1/3 or 4, and he's like whenever you used him, it never worked, despite the fact that he had 3.2 ERA. He was impossible to use last year.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Jeff McNeil earlier. Funny enough, I had him on the list here. He's another guy who went way down in ADP. He was popular the last couple of years. 2021, he hit 251, only 7 home runs. He did hit 311 and 318 in 2020 and 2019. Another guy where Happy Fun Ball looks like a huge outlier. 23 home runs in 2019. I don't think anybody thinks that's coming back. Hard hitter is back up, is still a 33% guy. Barrel rate never over 5%. So I don't think the power is ever coming back. Do you think he kind of fits in this like Luis Arias spot where maybe the batting average is going to come back up to the prior year range?
Probably a little bit. Keep in mind too, McNeil's another old debut guy. And we like, okay, well, he was nice in his debut. Let's see what he can do going forward. That's it. This is what he is. He's a fully made guy. And maybe, maybe, and the thing is, he was hurt some last year too, if I recall correctly. That could have compromised his production.
He played 120 games, so yeah, you're right.
But I don't know. I mean, where's he going to play is another question. I've seen some differing reports on that. Whether he plays second base, whether if Cano's going to play the field some. They got Escobar will probably play third, but what if they play JD Davis at third, and then they have to play Escobar at second, and then I could see a universe where McNeil is not an everyday player.
I was going to say the kind of way you're talking through it, you could see him sitting twice a week and not being that surprised.
Exactly.
And the hard part with guys like this is he has to hit for batting average to work. Like if he hits 260, he really hurts you because he's not going to get a lot of power. I think we're going to throw out that 23. He's not going to run. He had 3 stolen bases. He only had 3 attempts last year. Not going to drive any runs. So that's 3 categories right there you're not getting. And it's tough right away to kind of figure out what we got going here.
Yeah, and it might be one of those self-fulfilling things too. Like, well, I need to hit regularly to get my batting average up. But if I'm not getting my batting average up, I'm not going to be playing regularly. I mean, he's got to get off to a good start. Yeah. Last year was such a malaise with all these Mets that makes me wonder if it just kind of the whole overall weight of the season just dragged them down and dragged down their individual numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. But they just have a lot of guys for not that many spots. I mean, interesting. It's a team that figuring out playing time is pretty tough. But
it is.
Few more guys here before we get out of here. Connor Joe, average or ADP is 325. Hit 285 last year, 8 home runs and 211 plate appearances. Hard hit rate was 39%, not great, but barrel rate was pretty good at 9.9%. solid K rate under 20%. Like to see that with the guys these days. 12.3% walk rate. I looked at Connor Joe. He hit 300 with 15 home runs and 450 plate appearances in 2019. I think it was for AAA and the Dodgers. So like a good average and it's a decent pop. Looks like an everyday guy, especially with the DH. We never know with the Rockies what the heck they're going to do, but at least to start the season, hitting in Coors Field, it seems like this is someone that's not going to hurt you at pick 325. It might help you a little bit.
The DH helps him a lot too.
It does.
He's another old debut. Finally got his first full season of the majors at age 28. But he got that chance. And the Rockies, for as long as I can remember, are the type of team that does this too. Charlie Blackmon got a late start to his career.
Yep.
It's just one example. Sam Hilliard still can't get a full-time gig, may not. Garrett Hampson has been wanting so far. You could see it. You could also see Zach Veen some point in time getting the call up. They've got some other prospects in that mold too. But I also could see a full season of Connor Joe. And by the way, supposedly Monfort is the owner that was pushing for the elimination of minor league levels the last time they did, when they eliminated 42 teams. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still behind it even now too. That was the poison pill that they tried to put into that otherwise overwhelming offer the owners made to the players there. That was the poison pill that prevented it from getting in, just to make sure that they said no so they could spin it against the players. But
he develops his minor leaguers so well, though. You think he'd want to have as many minor leaguers as possible?
Yeah,
So
I'm going to stammer here. I'm so frustrated with him, but yeah.
It's been a lot of years of struggle there. I think that Connor Joe has a pretty good runway of playing time, though. I think he'd have to struggle for the first 6 to 8 weeks. I think he's got a pretty good
I agree.
Pretty good chance to make his name. And if he starts playing well, I think they just kind of let him run with it. I mean, they're just with a DH. I think it opens up, like you said, that I think it opens up the Rockies outfield a lot. And there's not a lot of guys who are like, oh, well, if he doesn't do it now, this guy's going to take his spot. It's not happening in Colorado. I mean, we've already got, Tapia and Sam Hilliard as starters right now. So it's just, there's not a lot of depth there.
Yeah. And Sam Hilliard's sort of a starter.
Yeah, exactly.
He's only outfield eligible, only played 14 games at first, but that's another pathway to playing time too.
Yeah.
CJ Cron just got an extension this offseason, so he'll be the guy. But you never know. It's the Rockies. Rockies are going to Rocky.
I'm glad CJ Cron got paid, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah. He had some weird getting cut after good seasons. He had some
4 years in a row.
Yeah, got screwed around with a lot.
Twins.
I'm really happy he got paid.
Yeah.
3 more guys that we got here. Zach Plesac is someone that I ended up last year in the main event, but it was one of those we talked about last week, and one of those guys that fell a round and a half, and I was like, well, at this point, not really on my list, but I might as well do it. And I regretted it almost instantaneously. Disaster of 2021, 4.67 ERA, 142 innings. He was 3.8 in 2019 and to the 2.28 in 2020. As you look at this more and more, though, that 2020 small short season really sticks out. You look at the K rate last year, it's 18.5%, 27.5%, back to 16.5%. Hard hit rate was up. Barrel is up. The velo is still 94 or 93 or 94. He didn't lose any velo. You look at the stat catch page. You just want to take a quick screenshot. It's gross. It's all blue except for walk rate. The whole thing is blue. It's not what you want for a pitcher.
His outlook is amazing. Did you see that?
No.
So our line here, his StatCast page has more blue ink than a big pen exploding in your shirt pocket. And most of that comes from how poorly his fastball performed. And he threw that 42% of the time. Seems bad.
I promise I didn't steal that straight from the Outlook, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a great line. I thought this was going to be in the last year's bums section, not the plus.
Kind of fits both, right? It's crazy how him and McNeil kind of fit both. But slider whiff rate went from 43%, elite numbers in 2020 to 31.5% in 2021. I want to find a reason here, but the more you look at it, 2019 and 2021 look more similar, and 2020 looks like a big outlier that he just kind of found something for whatever that was, 55, 60 innings.
He found playing Central Division teams the entire season. That was probably what he found.
That was your point last year, and for his Plesac, that worked exceptionally well.
Yeah, 100 Ks and 142 innings. Sometimes I don't think you need to look at StatCast. You can just look at that and say, okay, that's your issue. Maybe pitching in Cleveland will help some. Maybe facing the Central Division teams will help some. But over a full schedule, that's kind of dangerous. Plus, he also had one of the funnier injuries. Not funny to him, but
was he taking off his shirt too hard?
Aggressively ripping off his shirt and hurting his thumb. aggressively. I love that phrase.
And the potential that I see is a little bit of value here. And not to mention Matt Modica again, we were talking earlier about DCs. If you're playing draft champions, this is someone that's going to be a starter to throw every innings. Like if you have some injured guys early on, you need someone that's going to start every week and you want him to be there all year. There is some of that with Plesac. I don't think he's going to lose his job. I think they're going to let him go out there and throw every start. So if you need innings and you need that, there are some guys in there that has a little more value to me in a DC that does a main event where, you can pick guys up. You can't pick somebody up. Having a guy who's going to throw every week does have its value.
Yeah. I don't come here to praise him or bury him, but I'm probably going to bury him.
Yeah, I wasn't super excited after looking at him. Two more hitters I want to talk about real quick, and they are both guys that I am targeting pretty aggressively at their price. So if you want to not listen, if you're going to be in my league, and now is the time to go ahead and have some dinner. First guy is Evan Longoria. ADP is 360. Super impressive before he got hurt. He collided with Brandon Crawford, I think, is what the injury was. Hit 261, 14 home runs, and 291 plate appearances. He is 36. I get that. But you look at hard hit rate guys that are over 250 plate appearances. Number 1, Aaron Judge. Number 2 is Vlad Guerrero. Number 3 is Gerald Stanton. Number 4 is Evan Longoria last year. Like, that is prime freaking company right there. Yeah. 54.5% hard hit rate, 13.5% barrel rate, both career highs. I get he's 36, but last year he was absolutely raking the ball. I think the DH helps him too. I think getting him off third base once a week would be really good at 36. K rate was up a bit, so he probably sold out a little bit for the pop, which, as long as it doesn't go too crazy, it was 23.5%. I'm okay with that. I just think at pick 360, there is zero risk for a guy that I think, at least while he's healthy, you can be able to use him every single week.
Sure. It's when he's healthy is always the key. It's like how many games you can get.
Sure.
He's basically a bench spot you're drafting for here too at 360. So I get that. Yeah. Again, he's another one of those veterans that seemed like the Giants got a lot of mileage out of last season.
They did, and it'll probably fall off at some point. But at pick 360, like I'm fine if it falls off, and I got to drop him. Like there's just zero risk down here for a guy that might be really solid for you. He hit 260 last year with 13 home runs in half a season. I know you can't extrapolate that out to a whole season, but give me a guy that's hitting the ball hard. I could put him in most weeks, or if my corners are fine that week, maybe I sit him if they play matchups here and there. If he's got some lefties, I definitely put him in there. But I think he's someone that's very usable. And at pick 360, it's hard to find usable guys. I think he's very much one.
Yeah, this is a perfect illustration of the danger of projections. Because any sort of ranking system using projections is going to have a drag on his playing time.
For sure.
If you do a playing time neutral set of rankings, he's going to show up better. And I recommend that you do that. You normalize it on a per game basis there somehow. You can't completely discount the injury risk. You still have to discount him, but he's going to rate a lot better. And that makes you kind of like, and that's going to make you want to take him around ADP. I think that's totally fine. I'm on board with this too.
And I think the injury is already priced in here. And it's nice down here. If you pick someone in the 23rd round, they get hurt. Like, that's the easiest drop ever. Like, injury risk in the first 12 rounds, I'm like, oh, if he gets hurt, I got to figure out what to do. I'm going to hold him for 2 months. Longoria gets hurt, I just drop him. It's really easy. So it's just, I think it's a really good price here. If that ADP sticks around there won't be many teams that I don't have him on.
Right. It's the veterans at that price. They're going to play.
Yeah.
The other guy on our list at his position, we might as well incorporate him as Mike Moustakas, and same sort of principle applies. And again, the DH measurably helps Mike Moustakas big time because Jonathan India is firmly ensconced at second base. That's never happening again. Votto is not going away at first, and they want Suarez to get well at third. So what's that leave Moustakas? DH. It's perfect.
I mean, you're the Reds fan. You think they just slot him in a DH every day, plays the field a couple times a week, but he's going to be in there whenever he's healthy, right?
He might not even qualify for a position in 2023, but I don't even care.
The first NL utility only player could be Mike Moustakas.
Well, there'll be lots of them.
There'll be lots of them next year. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. I mean, you look at he was 38 home runs in 2019. I was a little surprised when I look at Moustakas. The hard hit rate's been under 40% the last 5 years. He's not a huge hard hit guy, but I think the power is obviously there. He was clearly not healthy last year. I kind of toss out that barrel rate and all that, but I think at 352, I'd take Longoria before I take Moustakas, but if someone grabbed Longoria before me, I'm fine grabbing Moose also.
Yep.
One more guy I want to talk about. It's we're going a little bit further down to pick 385, but someone that I do like a lot. As I got deeper into this one, I liked him even more. Is Chas McCormick in Houston. Hit 257 last year with 14 home runs. The Ks were a big issue. He's 32.5%. I get that's a huge issue. However, you look in the minor leagues, he was like in the teens in the minor leagues. So I think he's another guy that first time through the league, he was struggling there. But you look at his hard contact, and you just don't get this at pick 385. 48% hard hit rate, 10% barrel rate. Also, he's an 89 percentile sprint speed guy. Like, I think you might get 10 steals out of him if he plays. The big issue is playing time. You've got Kyle Tucker and Michael Brantley in the outfield. You have Yordan Alvarez who's going to DH. Like, there's 3 out of 4 spots are gone. So it depends. This could really get impacted by if they sign out. If they sign an outfielder, this one gets much less exciting. But if they don't, and he's playing center, he's a really good outfielder. You look at his defensive numbers on StatCast, and outs above average, all way in the dark red. Like, he's a really good outfielder, and that helps him and stay in the lineup. If they don't sign an outfielder at pick 385, I'd go up to pick like 335 for this. I think that you get someone that can hit the ball hard in a good lineup. I know he's going to hit down the lineup, but I think as a 6th outfielder, I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, at one point in time in this draft season, he was going in the 400s, and he's already starting to go up a little bit there. I think this is a Sporer guy, or maybe it was everybody thought he looked like Sporer. I forget which.
I think everybody looked like Sporer and an accountant, to kind of a combo between the two.
Yeah, I think that was it. But I think it was he or Jason Collette that endorsed McCormick too, if I recall correctly. So again, this is if playing time comes, you're getting some power and some speed.
Yep.
You could be 2010 and you're getting that for nothing. Although not for nothing if the Astros don't sign anybody, then you're going to have to pay around pick 300.
Yeah, I think he's one that if you're drafting DCs right now, I would grab him with the thought that, it may not work out, but the price is really good. If they don't sign anybody and we're doing main events and he's the center fielder, like it's going up you're right, the high 200s, maybe around 300. But I mentioned the outfield stuff. I mean, he's 89% sprint speed, 97th percentile outs above average, 95 percentile outfielder jump. So like really good situation in the outfield. If they need someone to play center field, they do at the moment. They may sign somebody. It's very true. The Astros have money. They are contending, obviously. They're easily the favorites in the division. But if he sticks to center field, man, I love him as a fantasy player this year.
So you are moving markets right now because I just took Chas McCormick at pick 372 while we were talking.
I love it.
In the first pitch Arizona speakers draft. I could pick 6. I could have gotten maybe 6 picks later, but why take the chance?
Absolutely.
Chas, come on down.
When you can draft Chas McCormick, you just got to jump and do it.
I mean, and I hope at least one person in the league listens and complains to you about it there, because that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. So anybody else you want to talk about? We've got a little bit long here, but we had a lot of guys to talk about and some good stuff.
I got to save it. We got a long nuclear winter. We got to,
don't. We had to get creative in 2020. I'm hoping not to have to get quite that creative. Let's hope we have
Amen,
just
brother.
Players in baseball to talk about. There's some fun that we had in 2020 with having guests on and doing some funky stuff, but I'd like to be able to just talk baseball for a while.
Yeah, me too. So no, but I don't have anything else to add right now. In fact, I got to book a guest for Thursday still. So looking forward to Fred and I tomorrow.
Nice.
That's going to be
Fred's so good, by the way. Good dude, good on the podcast, but an awesome fantasy player too.
All of the above.
Dude, wins freaking everything.
I love doing the podcast with him and being in mixed labor with him, and we talk about the trades that we do with each other. In fact, We'll probably get a trade on air one of these times. He loves to trade, so it's ideal. Looking for that. He's in
Friends and Family too, right?
He is.
I think he is.
Yeah. And he's also the two-time defending champ in NL Tout Wars, but he's doing draft and hold this year because he's got a timing conflict. His kids have a hockey tournament that weekend, so
something to be said for winning twice and just calling it like retiring, and I'm good.
He's also a good dad too.
I'm gonna go conquer another format.
Exactly. And if you're not sick of us yet, we got gaming golf tomorrow.
Hey, 24-1 winner this week. I know. You can't be upset about that.
You got 2 winners already this year.
2 winners this year, and I actually bet Scheffler this week, and that was a nobody in my house was happy with me though, because I kept flipping over to the playoff holes during the Super Bowl, so I was getting lots of bad looks. I'm like, it's a commercial, and everybody's like, that's what we're here to watch, is the commercials. So I had to. So
you didn't go to your secret underground cave where you had the 3 TVs, huh?
I did, except we had people over at our house, so everybody was watching other stuff in there. So I didn't have as much. I had a TV outside, but everything was on the game, so I got the laptop going. I watched the last few holes. People were like looking at me crazy because I started yelling when Scheffler made that putt. So I was like, you don't realize this is worth a lot more money than me than anything I have on the Super Bowl.
I think you texted me.
I did. I felt really bad about doing it because I know, but I know
I was glad you did.
You had him in DraftKings, I know. So I felt bad. I think they were down. The Bengals were down 7-2. I'm like, I shouldn't text him, but I figured it was gonna be good news.
No, it was a welcome bit of good news at a time when there wasn't good news. So that was good. Made me some money. So that was good.
Beautiful. Well, thanks everyone for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We appreciate our partnership with WynnBET all year long. That's WYNNBET. You want to follow Jeff on Twitter? He's at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. We can answer questions there. We're back at you, Jeff, next Sunday night, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, beautiful. Well, I look forward to that. Hope everybody has a really good week. Hopefully, have some good baseball news to at least share by then. I'm not too optimistic, but hopefully we do. One of these weeks we're going to. So thanks everybody for listening. Hope everybody has a great week. Take care.
Guess I'm out of the studio.